Welcome to The Tripod, the official podcast of San Clemente High School. I'm your host, Jay Bish. Today, 2019 graduate Layna Hathaway joins the show. After injuries prematurely ended her club and SCHS soccer career, Layna parlayed her love for fashion and styling into 75 Degrees and Fuzzy, a creative fashion brand for women. Currently a business student at Cal Poly SLO, we'll tap into everything Layna's learned and experienced since high school graduation on this episode of The Tripod. So I've had a lot of kids in my classes that say things like, "Oh, I want to be an entrepreneur," and I'm like, "Oh, like what do you want to do? Like what kind of company?" They're like, "I don't know. I just want to like run stuff." And yet here you are in college, and you are an entrepreneur. Can you tell me how 75 Degrees and Fuzzy started?
Yes. Okay. So it's a little bit confusing, but basically my whole life I grew up playing competitive soccer and that sort of ate up a bunch of my time. But one of like my passions has always been like clothing and fashion. And I grew up going to Los Angeles with my mom and shopping like at the different warehouse sales or sample sales. So I got a bunch of concussions and was no longer allowed to play soccer. So I started shopping even more. And then I ended up sort of like personal shopping for different girls. And then I started hosting pop-up events at my house. So I'd like have racks and racks of clothes all over my living room in my dad's office, and would invite all my friends over to come and shop. But the problem was since I didn't have a wholesale license, a lot of them were only like size small, and obviously not everyone's a size small. So I got a wholesale license, and then I started doing different like pop-up events all over Orange County. And then as I went to college, I put my clothing in like a brick and mortar like collaborative space with other small businesses. And then recently I've just been working on building the e-commerce side of things. So I guess that's sort of how it started, if that makes sense.
That's super cool. And so when you say wholesale, you just mean like you're buying in bulk, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That give you a chance to buy things that were all different sizes and so on and so forth. And how did that change things for you when you finally got that license?
Yeah, totally. So I like had to figure out the process to apply for the license, and I got a lot of help from my parents in figuring that out and like the legality aspect of it. But it really was a game changer because I was able to shop a lot of higher end brands, and it was really fun. Let's go to the big building and sort of pitch 75 and be able like to make brands and accounts for those bigger companies. It really allowed me to like widen my customer base because I was able to buy like not only size small pieces for like teenage 20-year-old girls, but also stuff that like my grandma would like to wear, like my mom our age, and it really sort of broadened the horizons, and it really allowed me to learn more about like the fashion industry and tracking trends and sort of buying and how you have to plan everything out in advance. So it was definitely like a really big learning curve, and I'm really glad that I did that because I feel like I've gotten a lot more knowledgeable.
Well, when you started, did you have a target audience in mind? Because you mentioned like your grandma, I mentioned like you were shopping for friends and stuff. Like,
Yes.
do you have a target audience, or did you kind of that evolve over time?
It definitely evolved. The original business model was definitely not sustainable. So it was very much a learn by doing experience because I was just sort of buying clothes and like hoping that people would like it. Or I'd have my friends send me pictures of things that they'd like, and I'd like go around for hours trying to find it. But I think as it like developed over time, our like target audience, I guess, would be like girls ages like 20 to 50 or 60 that like a bohemian style, like something that they can like be comfortable in, but also like stay up with the latest trends and sort of bridges the gap between like timeless pieces and like really trendy and fun things.
That's cool. When you were starting out and going up to look at those stores and such,
Mm-hmm.
what was attracting you to the clothes you were choosing? Because obviously that was the spark. It was like people were seeing the stuff that you were wearing, and
Yeah.
so what were you looking for, or what was kind of like clicking for you?
Yeah, well, it's definitely really overwhelming because the fashion district where I shop in Los Angeles, it's actually 100 blocks long. So first going up there, I would go up there with my mom, and I was like, oh my gosh, because there's just so many options. So I think it was really helpful like, I would bring some people along, so I was not only pick out things that I would like, but also like my mom would like or my friends would like. And I think something that I always really like prioritized was making sure it was high quality, like making sure nothing was see-through, like making sure the sweater was like soft, not itchy, and really like browsing through that 100 blocks and finding brands and accounts that, like I was really passionate about like their style, like the message behind their brand, and that the products were something that like girls weren't going to buy and like be able to wear once and then have it rip, but something that they could like keep forever, was sort of what I was looking for.
That's super cool. And then was it like, just because I remember pretty early on you had the Instagram page, and you were like Delaney was taking photos for
Mhm.
you, Allie and Quinn were modeling for you. Like, was
Oh,
it
yeah.
Was it like an easy idea there to just get all your friends involved? Did they want to be involved? Like, how did that steamroll? Because that seemed like a really smart decision on your part.
Yeah, I think I definitely chose girls from San Clemente High School because I was like the faces that people recognized and saw. I think at first it was a little bit awkward because obviously like none of us, like we're all like taking pictures on Instagram or whatever, but none of us were like trained models. So I had like Delaney and Bella help, and I think girls liked having the photos and like I'd let them like wear the clothes. And so it was sort of like I made it, I think, an experience rather than just like my friends helping me out. And I think that experience is what sort of carried the brand to SLO, because I'll be able to work with girls that or like more prestigious models or like different photographers in San Luis Obispo and able to curate like an experience with shooting with 75 that makes people want to come back. And that also makes the clothes seem, I think, more realistic and friendly to consumers because it's not like it's like a model basic girl, but it's people that people can relate to and see themselves in the photos. Cause like, oh, it's another college girl. It's another high school student. So it makes it more relatable.
When you say experience, what are you trying to get at?
Yeah, so I think that like when I do the photo shoots, like we always have music going, like I style the girls, like I have a little consultation before like to make sure I have their correct sizing. I talk to them about like what their vibe is so they're able to feel really comfortable in their authentic self when shooting in the clothes. Because I think that pictures turn out best like when people feel confident. So by like making it an experience, like talking to them beforehand and really having a set plan in place, people are able to feel like more like welcome in the environment, and then the pictures turn out a lot better because people are excited to be there and feel like they got the attention that they deserve since they're helping us out. And Delaney and Bella are also extremely talented, and Lauren and Anna, who I work with in SLO, and they're really good at posing people and making it fun. So
That's super cool. One of my favorite things about your brand is, as I was reading through, in the past week and stuff, in researching this, I love the way that it feels like in everybody's bios that works for you, they're all about empowerment. Was that a specific part that you wanted to be established in your brand ethos, or is that
yeah.
just going to come out randomly throughout all this?
No, I think that was definitely super intentional. I think like from the beginning of starting it, I was all about like girls supporting girls. And then as it sort of progressed, like my team is all women. And then actually in San Luis Obispo, as I'm trying to grow the e-commerce business, I manage a team of 6 interns that are all girls. So I think it's really given them a platform like to get experience in like business, e-commerce, like marketing, graphic design, and then we're all able there like to support one another and spread each other's like work ethic throughout Cal Poly's campus community and like different internships opportunities, because that's like a competitive realm. So it's good to be able to give girls the experience that they need and really support one another and not make it a competitive thing, but more of like a community of girls that everyone can come to and feel welcomed and empowered and like they can accomplish something greater than themselves.
That's so cool. As a leader, as a boss, as someone who's instilling culture in your work environment, what have you done to help empower these women and their voices?
Yeah, totally. So I think when I assign people projects, like I obviously, as I guess the boss, have a vision or a direction that I want things to go into, but I think I really let them have a lot of creative freedom. And that way I think that makes the brand really unique. So it's not only my voice, but it's the voice of like 6 women plus my mom, so like 7 or 8 of us. And so I think that gives them a lot of creative freedom. And additionally, I think I put them in a lot of collaborative environments where it's like, oh, the gal that does like our blogging is working with the graphic designer. And so it allows them to sort of spearhead the projects and I oversee it. And then additionally, I think I try really hard just to be like a welcoming and kind person where if they have a problem or anything, like they feel like they can solve it first on their own. And if not, they can come to me and I'd be there like to support them. But I think really just like developing leadership skills, collaboration skills, and giving them creative freedom has sort of allowed our little team of girls to thrive.
Is that natural for you to want to give people like that kind of freedom to put their own stamp on things, or has that been learned over time since you've been in charge?
I think it's definitely been learned over time. I know when I was like in high school transitioning into college and even this year, I'm involved in a couple other things on campus and obviously I'm a full-time student. And I tend to sort of think that I can do it all and have like 48 hours in a day. That's super unrealistic. So sort of by bringing on this team, like talking to my mom was one of my greatest mentors. I've like learned that I always knew this, but with a team, you can accomplish so much more than you can on your own. And like the ideas and different projects that we've generated from working with this group of girls is like beyond anything I could have ever imagined or done on my own. So I think that I'm really grateful that I took that step, and I've learned a lot. I think I've always been like a kind person that people can approach and talk to, but I think I've learned a lot more about being a leader that gives their team a lot more creative freedom, and that as a leader doesn't mean that you have to burden everything on your shoulders, but that you can really distribute the responsibility to all those you work with if you build a trusting community.
That's cool. And I mean, they're going to work harder for you because they feel like they own a piece of it, right? Like
Totally. Yes, that's
really
the
cool.
goal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to get into the stuff you talked about at Cal Poly. You're a part of the Women in Business group. Like, what's the proper term? Like group or?
Yeah, well, it's like technically a club on campus, but we call it a professional organization. So yes, I'm a very big women in business gal.
Awesome. How did you join that? Or how did you come to be a part of that?
Yeah, so this is actually a really funny story. But basically, when I was deciding like which college I wanted to go to, Women in Business puts this program called Entry to or no, Wander with Whip, sorry. And so as like a high school senior, you're able to go to Cal Poly and shadow like two of the girls in Women in Business for a weekend, and you sleep over with them in your dorm, and you listen to them speak on panels, like they take you to your classes, like how they talk to the professors. And I was like absolutely blown away by these group of girls because they were all like so accomplished and doing so many things, but they all were like so nice and like a little high school senior like come follow them around and made me feel like I was like, already a part of the school and I had not even committed to going there. So after participating in that program, then I did like the two programs they have for freshmen, which like focus on personal and professional mentorship. And then this year I held two positions. Sort of one was director of sponsorship for the board, so I was in charge of raising all the funds for our organization, and then Women in Business also puts on a conference, and I was the assistant director of marketing for that. So I really felt like the organization impacted me a lot as a freshman, and then I wanted to give back to it, so I got pretty involved this year in leadership.
That's awesome. What do you hope to do the next 2 years? I'm guessing you'll be a part of it the next 2 years as well.
Yeah, definitely. So in the next 2 years, it's like I would like to continue to be a part of the Defining Her Future conference. And then I think another thing is just being a part of the organization. I was a mentee in a lot of the programs, and so I'm excited to be a mentor on the other side of things and really be able to give the girls the experience that I had. Because going into college obviously is a really scary time, and this group of girls formed a really unique and supportive community. And I don't really know what I would have done at Cal Poly if I hadn't found all those girls, because they were always such like a support system. If I had a question about like a class, where's a building, like I have no one to eat lunch with, like all the upperclassmen would be like more than willing to come sit with you and sort of hold your hand through those trying and uncertain times.
That's awesome. What is maybe like a piece of wisdom that you've gained from your mentors in this
Yeah.
case you hope to share with those you are going to help in the future?
Yeah, totally. I think a quote that like floats around Cal Poly and like the business school in general and in women in business a lot is that you're the average of the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I think that's something that's really spoken to me, and being intentional with your relationships and the organizations you join and the people that you choose to surround yourself with, because you really are that average of people. So like if you want to be motivated, you need to surround yourself with other motivated people. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to surround yourself with other people with an entrepreneurial mindset. Like you think you want to be a kind person, like you have to reach out and be with kind people. So I think really like being intentional with your relationships and who you surround yourself with and what organizations you join really has the ability to impact like not only your college life, but like your future relationships and like your overall happiness.
That's so cool. I totally agree with you on that. You mentioned that or you didn't mention this, but I read about it too. You've got 3 brick and mortar stores right now.
Yeah. Yes.
Where do you see 75 Degrees and Fuzzy going, like beyond today, essentially?
Yes. Well, this is a big plan I have in the works. And so my like partner sort of in 75 is Sarah Dada, and I met her through Women in Business. So right now I have my clothing in 3 collaborative stores in Orange County. So they're not like just mine, but there's like other small businesses under the roof. So it's a really great community of different people, and like you share the rent, and it's like a really good system. But in the future, I could maybe see us trying to open up our own location. But what my friend Sarah and I are working on right now is sort of building the e-commerce system into a consultation service almost, because I feel like it's really hard when you have like big giants like Amazon, Google, like Free People, Anthropology, and like obviously those are the main places that women go to shop for clothing. So our idea is essentially to create a space for us to sell our clothing, but then also to give other small businesses a platform to sell their products and work on like really boosting our Google Analytics. And then also while they have their products on our website, offering them consultation and mentorship in order to get their brand like vision in the right place, teach them about search engine optimization, like different marketing tactics, and build sort of like a community or incubator for other small businesses in the retail consumer insights industry. So
That's rad. Like, what was it that made you want to get involved, or what is inspiring you to want to take in that direction? Because I think the whole incubator idea is such an important part, especially with all you've learned in the last 2 years, even. What has made you gravitate towards that?
Yeah, totally. So I think a lot of it stems from my own frustration, like just being a small business, like trying to get my clothing going e-commerce and like get people to come visit the website. Cause so many times like people be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't understand why you haven't like blown up on Instagram or on website. Like your stuff is so cute. And I'm like, yeah, me too. But like, obviously it's hard. So I think like throughout taking my classes at Cal Poly and like a lot of the girls I'm like friends with, like I said, through Women in Business, I've had internships in marketing. And I think like at the end of my 4 years here, I'll be able to have a really strong grasp on like understanding how that side of business works. And so I think really being able like to pass down that knowledge to allow others to thrive and succeed. Like I've always liked helping other people. So I think this would be a great way to do it on another scale while also building a community of fellow entrepreneurs, like small business owners and like movers and shakers that are willing to do things and put in time. So that's sort of, I guess, why I want to do it, because I've been frustrated about it. I know other people that are frustrated about it. So I guess Sarah and I sort of see the problem and are hoping to offer a feasible solution.
That's rad. I think, the one word that I keep hearing you say is community. Has that been an important factor for you in terms of like trying to establish community, like for most of your life, or is that a thing that's really come to you in the last couple of years as a business owner? That sense of like the importance of community and helping to establish one.
Yeah, I think like when I was younger, obviously I'm still very young, but when I was like younger, I would always hear people say, oh, you need to establish a strong community around yourself, like the San Clemente High School community. And I was always like, okay, yeah, like a group of people. But I think like through doing 75, I've really understood what a community is, because being a part of the different collaborative shops, like having people that are going through the same thing as me, being other entrepreneurs and small business owners was super helpful. People like, oh, like, have you heard about this service, or have you done this or tried that? And so really being able to bounce ideas off of one another and then building a community even further with like the people that you work with or your team. I think it's just really important to surround yourself around people that are supportive. And I think that has sort of come naturally as 75 has continued like to grow and change, is that community just keeps becoming something that's more and more important in order to succeed.
That's super cool. I mean, I ever since I've known you, you've been kind of all about the stuff with, everything from volunteering in Link Crew and everything else you were doing basically was trying to like help other people rise up to your level. I think it's just the coolest thing ever. And I think to hear you speak about it with such enthusiasm and also with such intelligence because of all you've been through says so much about you. I'm super excited to see where you go from here. So
Thank you
so much for coming in and joining me today. And yeah, I can't wait to see where everything goes for 75.
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Fish. It was a pleasure.
For more episodes of The Tripod, check out sctripod.com.